All right, here we are. So in this video, we're going to build out the game Tic Tac Toe. Um, we're just going to focus on the programming logic for the game. So with that being said, the repository for this is in the description, so you can just excuse me, um get that. You can copy that, the HTML and the CSS code from GitHub, and paste that uh, where we have it. So you can see here, um, I added a folder, I added a CSS folder with a style.css style sheet, and my app.js, and I have index.html. So this is my index.html. Actually, I have a link to my little humble website right there. Cool. Um, this uh, this project is employing Bootstrap 5.3.3. I don't know exactly where they are right now, but that's the one this is using. I have that, and I also have style sheet here. Just really basic. If you want to, after you've built the game, I kind of tinker with it. Maybe you want to change some colors. Um, you can do that. Also, I'm just using display grid, which I'm not an expert at. Uh, I'm more of a flex guy myself, but I employ grid for this as well, so that you'll have something that looks like this. Okay, and the way this game is going to be played is each player will be able to enter their initials here, and that will display each box when you submit the players, and then the player obviously will be able to click on the squares, and it will show an X or an O, and it'll let there will be an alert to say which player's next. If there's a tie, it'll display, and then you can restart game, which will allow you to start the game back up. So there's a lot of stuff going on in here, but this is the layout that you should have if you copy and pasted the HTML and the CSS correctly. It should look like that. All right. So now we got that out the way. Let us go to some code, some programming logic. Okay. So I have my app.js file. Okay, and in this I'm going to use classes. Well, I'm going to use a class, and I'm just going to call it game. So I'm going to say class game. Okay, like so. And we're going to run the game and everything at some point. But let's start off here with building out our constructor. So let's build the constructor first. Okay, and again, that constructor method contains the information that we want to be accessible on the load. Okay. And so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to access the DOM elements. If you haven't done any front end development, basically what we're going to do here, or even if you have done front end development and you're just not comfortable, what we're going to do is we're going to get access to all of the HTML elements here. The DOM stands for Document Object Model. Basically, what this does is it takes the HTML code that is written and formats it into a, I guess, a tree-like structure, and that is the DOM. But it doesn't have to be just HTML. It could be any document. Okay. Here using JavaScript, and given that this is the web, then yes, it is HTML. But if it were something else, it would take those elements and convert it into uh, JavaScript accessible objects. Okay. So with that being said, let's start it off. I'm going to say this dot game restart btn document dot get element by game restart. Okay, so just to kind of further explain what we're here with this dot game restart, I didn't spell that correctly. This dot game restart button gets document dot get element by ID game restart. What we're doing here is we're looking for an element by the ID game start, which is right here. So this is a button, and you see that it has an ID of game restart. Well, what we just did was we took that element because we got the element by ID from the document, and we stored it here in this dot game restart button. And I can show you what we'll do with it, but we'll see. All right, gonna do some more stuff. Gonna say this dot submit btn document dot get element by ID submit btn. So we're just getting access to all of the DOM elements in the same way. And if you want to, you can, after we get done with this, you can look in your HTML and see where these elements are located that we're getting access to. All right. This dot game status document dot get element by ID game status. And when it comes to me like getting access to the DOM elements, I like to name them the same thing as I have for my IDs. Makes it real easy for me. I know what I'm looking for. I know how to track this stuff down. Okay. This dot game active I set to true. This dot current player is going to be X. This dot X wins is going to get element by ID X wins. This dot O wins is going to get document dot get element by ID O wins. Make sure that it's written the same way that I have it. You'll definitely want to do that because again, this is accessing DOM elements. Okay, and I wrote them out a certain way. So you want to make sure that you're accessing that information correctly. Okay, so make spelling is important. Now, if you get done with this, or when you get done with this, and you want to go and change names up and such, go ahead and do that. But for right now, you want to stay close to the vest right here, what I got, so that it will function correctly. This dot player one gets document dot get element by ID player one. And this dot player two gets document dot get element by ID player two. Okay, so that's accessing all the DOM elements. Okay, on the constructor is we want to set our win count, and this is just going to be an object that just tracks the number of wins for each player. Okay, so I'm gonna say this dot win count is going to get here X 0 and O 0, and that's it. So I did tic tac toe. I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 years ago. I want to say as a project. And the first time I did it, I was using a tutorial that I found online, and I cited it and everything. So I'd had to go back to find that actual game, um, and that's where I got the foundation for this from. But since then, I've written this stuff up, and done a lot of different things to it. So like enough to where this is my own game. Um, yeah, it's definitely my own game now. The way that I built this out. So here we go. Next thing we're gonna do. We're still in the constructor. Is game state, and we'll talk about this some more. What's happening, but what it's gonna be initially. So this game state is gonna be an array of 9 empty strings. So make sure that you have 9 empty strings. And the way I style it up, you can see it kind of looks like the tic tac toe game board, where there's going to be 3 rows each of 3 empty strings. Like, and the next thing I'm going to do is, and this is 1D, we're going to set our winning conditions. Okay, so winning conditions. This is also going to be an array. This is going to be an array of arrays, so it's multi-dimensional. Okay, and it's different arrays because it's 8 different win conditions. So the first array is going to be 0, 1, 2, like so. Don't get your comma afterwards. Then 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So that's one winning condition. In other words, going 0, 1, 2. So going the top row, and then the second row, and then the third row. And then another winning condition is 0, oops, excuse me, 3, 6. This would be 1, 7. That second column, and 2, 5, 8. The third column, and then we want to go diagonal. So this would be 0, 4, 8, and 2, 4, 6. So those are our winning conditions. Okay, it'll make some sense later, but this is how we set that up. Set up our winning conditions, and this is the last thing for the constructor. We're going to set the players. So I'm going to say this dot players is player 1 is going to get the string player 1, and then player 2 is going to get player 2. And so that's it for the constructor. Okay, so as always, if you're watching this video, pause it, rewind it, what have you. Make sure that you have everything spelled in the way that I do, because you're going to need that. That's going to be very important. Also, check and make sure that in your, say, winning conditions, for example, that square brackets and commas are in the correct Same thing with game state. Check and make sure that after each quote there is a comma. You may find some if they're not. All right. I'll just put a comment over here. Up. And just star in the constructor. All right. Now, the next thing that we want to do is we want to build out this initializer. Okay, so let's do that. And we'll add some stuff to it as we go. But this is going to be the first method that we build in it. Okay, and what we want to do is see, we'll come over here, and right now, yeah, before I do that, I just want to say console.log initialize. We're going to change some stuff up in here, but right now I just wanted to say initialize. Okay. All right. So we're ready to test this out. This is going to be our first sanity check. And whenever I build, I like to have sanity checks at certain points just to make sure that things are working properly. You always want to do that for your own good. Making sure that things are, again, working properly, because if not, then you don't want to go back and try to find out where you made an issue. Yeah, you don't want to do that. That's gonna it's gonna be a headache. Okay, so let's go here. Let's say const Tic Tac Toe is gonna get new game. So we're creating a new instance of Tic Tac Toe of this game, and we'll say, say Tic Tac Toe dot init. Okay. And when I do that, I'm going to open up the console, and there you see initialize. Let me move the way, because yeah, I see initialize right there, and it's working. Okay, this isn't perfectly responsive, as you can see, because again, my focus was not so much on the game board as much of it was the logic, but I would definitely go back and make these my pieces, my game board, dynamic, so where responsive rather, so that it would fluctuate, resize itself according to the size of the screen. All right, but anyways, let's get back into some code. All right, so let's handle the click sales. We'll come back to init. So what we want to do is we want to be able to handle when we click on a sale. Okay, so in other words, I click on it and it should do something. Right now, if I click on it, nothing is happening. You can see. So I want something to happen when I click on it. Okay, so let's do that. So number 3, this is going to be let's see, handle the clicked cell. I'm going to write a method called handle clicked. We'll handle cell clicked. Handle cell clicked. All right. And so the first thing we want to do is we want to grab the cell. Okay. So in other words, when I click on it, I need to do something. All right. So let's grab them. If we go and look at our HTML here, these are all my cells, as you can see here, that are in the game board, and they all have the class cell. So given that they all have the class cell, I can grab this entire thing by using query selector all. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say const sales is going to get document dot query selector all. Going to open my quotes and access the class cell. I'm going to say dot cell. Okay. So this is going to grab the cells. And just to do a test, again, another sanity check right here. I'm going to say console.log sales just to check and see, make sure I got everything. Okay. Now, right now, if I come over here after you type console.log sales, when I come over here and I click it, nothing's going to happen just yet. Okay. Because nowhere is this handle cell clicked method being ran. We're going to run that inside of init. Okay. So I'm going to I'll comment out this console.log initialize. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to run this handle cell clicked. Okay. So I'm running that, this dot handle cell clicked. That's running inside of init. And init is being called down here. So there's this dot handle cell clicked. And there you see I have a node list. You can see there. And it has all the cells. And you can look and see when I highlight over the cell, you see that each cell is being highlighted as I hover over this list. So this node list is an object. It acts sort of like an array. It is not an array, and I want to be very clear with that. It is not an array. However, it has some properties like an array. And one of the properties that it has like an array, and we've used it before. So what we can do, and that sanity check is okay, that passes. So what we can do is we can say, hey, cells dot for each. So we can access the node list this way and do a for each loop on it. What we can't do is push. Okay. Can't push through a node list. But we can, again, we can do for each. So I can say, hey, for each cell, we're going to do some stuff. What I want to do for each cell is I want to grab this index right here. You see each cell has a data dash cell dash index attribute. And without going too deep into this, because again, the focus is not on like the front end, but the data attribute in HTML, what that does is it gives, well, you can create custom attributes for an HTML element which can be used like we're going to do right here in the JavaScript. So we can assign value, custom value to an HTML element using the data dash something attribute. All right. So I'm going to say const cell IDX or cell index is going to get, we're going to parse int this baby. So I'm going to say parse int cell dot get attribute, because we want to get that attribute data dash cell dash index. All right. And then we got that. What we're going to do now is we're going to create an event listener. An event listener is essentially a it is a method on the DOM, on the document, that basically listens or waits for something to happen, some kind of interaction with the user. So most popular one, and the one we're going to use, is click. So when I click on something on the web, that is an event which triggers some kind of programming. And so what we're doing is, with this event listener, we're saying, hey, listen for this or wait for this event to happen. And when it does, then do something. Okay. So let's see how that looks. We're going to create a container, a constant called cell index, that's going to store the data dash cell index. Okay. And then I'm going to say cell dot add event listener. So we're going to add event listener to each one. That event listener is going to be a click. Okay. And the event listener is going to take a second argument, and that second argument is going to be a callback function. What do we want it to do? Okay. Well, for right now, just to test it out, again, another sanity check. Let's console.log cell index. So this event listener saying, hey, each time we click, run this. And usually what I do with event listener, so even before I do that, what I like to do is, on my every single time I do an event listener, I console, or particularly click, console.log click. So this is just for me, just a sanity check. I like to do every single time I add the event listener, particularly with the click, but with the mouse over, mouse up, key press, whatever. I like to do that. So when I click on this, each one, I'm seeing click. And that's just for my own sanity, to make sure that this click handler is working. I've done it 20 million times, doesn't matter. Each time I build that, I add that in there just to make sure that it's working. Okay. And so now I'm going to console.log cell index. Okay. And come up back over here, and you see that cell index 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Again, that's 0, 4, 8, 2, 4, 6. All right, cool. So that's working. It's working the way that I want it to, because it's accessing data from each cell. And you can maybe you can kind of see where this is going now, because I have this 0 through 8. Okay, for this project. All right. All right. So that's working. That's not what I want to do. Like, we're not done with this, but let's finish. Okay. So I got the cell index. Cool. And now what I want to do is I want to say, hey, if the cell index is not an empty string, or if game active is false. So if the cell IDX is not an empty string, or active is false. I don't know where I got it in my notes, so I'm gonna roll with it. Let's see. Let's see. Not you. You. Okay, so I'm gonna say if this dot game state and then square bracket cell IDX is not equal to an empty string. Oh, I know where I'm going now. Or this dot game active, then return. And what does that mean? What does that mean, coach? So set index, again, we know is going to return the values 0 through 8. Okay. And so this dot game state is up here. So this dot game state has index values of 0 through 8. So I'm saying, hey, if this dot game state is not an empty string, which means that there's something in there. It's not an empty string, so in which case it's going to be an X or O in there. Or if this dot game active, I forgot something. Oh, is if not this dot game active. Yeah, that's where we're going. So if not, don't forget a bang right here. If not this dot game active, okay, then return. In other words, game active is false, or there's a cell there, which means it won't do anything if that box is filled. So if the box is filled, meaning there's an X or O in game state, or this dot game active is false, return, which means it won't do anything. All right. But then what we'll do is, and we're going to handle this next, we're going to handle the cell played. Okay, so what happens when we click on a cell? Okay, we'll do that next. So we're going to add something there. I'll make a comment right here. Add some stuff here. Okay, so we're going to finish this up. But that is going to be it for right now for handle cell. All right, so we're going to come back to some things again, because we're going to come back to this initializer as well. But the fourth thing we want to do, or step 4, we want to handle the cell played. So we've handled the cell being clicked. Okay, so we know what happens when we click on it, it does something. But now we need to handle the cell played. Okay, and I'm going to call that handle cell played. Handle cell played is going to take 2 arguments. It's going to take the cell and the index. So it's our new method right here. And the first thing I want to do, again, a sanity check. I'm going to dot log cell and index. All right. And now that I have that, I'm going to add here, and the stuff that we're adding, this dot handle cell clicked. I'm sorry, this dot handle cell played. This dot handle cell played is going to be cell and cell index. So here we handle this dot cell played. We're going to pass in the cell IDX, which is coming from 0, 1, 2, 3, 8, whatever. All right. And so let's see what happens. All right. Come over here. Let me just refresh this. Click on the cell, and there I see 81. On line 81, I get the element, which is a cell. That's good. That's what I want. I get that whole element, plus I get the index value, which is 1. All right. So far, so good. Let me comment out line 66. All right. So far, everything's good. Console.log cell index from handle cell played. It is returned to the console, the cell, and the cell being played. Cool. All right. So now what are we going to do? What we're going to do is we're going to say, hey, this game state IDX is going to get this dot current player. What does that mean? Okay, let's look at it. Let's see what's going on here. What we want to do is we want to say, hey, if the current player is X, when I click on a cell, it's going to take the game state, whatever the index value is of that cell, is going to turn into this dot current player. In other words, okay, let's see. We're passing an index. Okay. And so that is going to be passed into this dot game state index. Where's this state? It's up here. Okay. And so this dot game state is going to say, hey, you clicked on, let's say index is 1. So this dot game state 1, which is this value right here, or this particular empty string, it is going to be, we're going to store in that space, we're going to replace the empty string with this dot current player. This dot current player, way up here, we set that to X. So if I wanted to say, excuse me, if I want to say, hey, let's console.log this dot game state. I'm gonna remove this console, just comment it out. If I console.log this dot game state now, when I click on the cell, and you can see that that first spot became an X. If I click on this one over here, you see now there's an X there. Click on that second one, there goes an X. So each time I click on it, we're replacing that empty string with the current player. Getting somewhere with this. All right, so that handles the cell played. And let's do this. Yeah, I feel like I'm missing from this. All right. Now what we want to do is we can add some color to this. And I'm going to say, hey, if this dot current player is equal to X, then what are we going to do? We'll say cell dot class list dot add red, else cell dot class list dot add blue. So if the current player is X, then what we're going to do is to that cell, we're going to add a class red. Else, we're going to add a class blue. Okay, let's see how that works. So in my style.css, I have a class red and I have a class blue. There's red, there's blue. And one of the things I do in my CSS, I didn't do it here. Oh no, I just need to move that one. Anyways, I like to alphabetize my classes, and all my selectors actually helps me to put them in order, but clearly I didn't do that with this one because this should be, that game board should be down there a little lower, but what else? It's not important. I mean, it's important to me. But anyway, so what's happening here, we're saying, hey, if the current player is X, then we're going to add the code to our text. Otherwise, we're going to add the color blue. So when I come here, click on it, oh, nothing showed up yet. Why? Because we need to tell to show up. So after that, we're going to say cell.text is going to get this dot current player. So this is going to add the actual current player, the X or the O, to the browser so that we'll be able to see it. So it won't be displayed just in the console. This will be displayed visually for us. Now, click, and there goes X. Cool. And just to test this out, I'm going to set my current player to O. Oh, and there is blue. Right on. Set that back to X. Whew. Okay. So there we have our nice little we got this here. And if you're okay with this, you're comfortable with this, that's fine. Writing this out declaratively, I mean. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to write this out imperatively. And you remember we've talked about declarative programming versus imperative. Declarative program is not only telling the program what to do, but how to do it. Whereas imperative programming saying, hey, just do this. And a ternary operator is imperative programming. It's not explaining how to do something, just say, hey, do it. Okay. So I'm going to say this dot current player is equal to X, then cell dot class list dot add red, else cell dot class list dot add blue. And that should do the same thing. Come over here. There it is. Still works. All right, cool. So handle cell played is working just fine. All right. What is the next thing that we want to do? We want to handle the result validation. So let's see, that's 4, 5, come over here. And in other words, what we're doing, we're going to check every single time to see if we won or not. Okay. And so each and every time we're going to check and see when we play the game, while we're playing the game, rather, we're going to check and see if the game is over. And we're going to do that in the next video because this one is 45 minutes long. So we're going to pick up where we left off right here with result validation. So I'm sure you want to get done with this. So be sure to subscribe, like, share, comment, all this stuff to Satchwork and watch these videos. Learn something or just play around, even if you're not learning. Just do some stuff. Maybe you'll get creative and do your own thing. I don't know. But anyways, I'll see you on the other side of this.